Got it.
Almost there. Setting up. It says it's done. And we're live. Yay, this is the first time I've ever had the whole side-by-side thing. So that is like the most
Exciting.
And the first time using the webcam instead. Super duper duper yay. So welcome everyone to Testimony in the Tub. Today I have for you Luna, my Luna from NuReveal. And my first question that I'm interested in Luna answering is, what is NuReveal yoga?
Okay, so NuReveal Yoga, we specialize in nude fitness and wellness, as well as yoga classes. We use the clothing as symbols to unmask ourselves from society's rules and how we feel in our inner circle and go back to our original format when we were first born onto this planet. It helps for individuals that have poor body image, helps with individuals who have been sexually assaulted, as I have, to fall in love with the body once again. I do teach clothes classes, and I try to make the clothes classes to be more trauma informed, very informative about falling in love with your body with the different exercises and formats that we do. So whether you're naked or not, I'm trying to throw in those little spices to help you to get a better relationship with your body once again, whether you're in a chair, standing up, however old or young you are.
I have totally had the honor of doing a naked yoga class with Luna. And I've met one of my greatest male friends in the entire world.
From that class.
Yeah. Who would have thought? And it was God's idea for us to be friends, because I met that man outside of Luna's class after that. Oh, wow. Luna, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Like, I've been wanting to do this. You were one of the first people who ever even like inspired that notion of like, I need to do interviews and I need to record other people. And like, now the fact that we're doing this, like, oh my God. So another thing I'd love for you to go into, if you don't mind.
It's okay.
My fantasy question is, how did you meet Trina Christine Mason? How did this happen? I would love to hear the story. How did I end up in a coffee shop? I'm serious. I know it's connected to Wolf and things like that, but I want to know from your words what happened and how did we end up at the coffee shop? And I want you to say the name of the shop and I want you to tell the story. What happened? How did this happen?
I do believe that Wolf wanted me to connect with you, or
and then
you were.
Dan came up. I just remember that.
Yes, Dan. Actually, I think it was both Daniel and Wolf, which was funny because Wolf would talk to me 1 minute, and I think Dan said the other thing. And I was like, okay, if I'm having two different individuals who've never met each other telling me I need to speak to this girl, I'm going to call her. I think Wolf wanted me to talk to you because you were asking if he knew someone that does yoga, and he knew me. And then Dan said, yeah, I know this girl that does yoga. And he also had it with me. So it just so happened that we were the same person. It was me. So I called you and we texted, and I remember you had some resistance. You didn't want to meet me for some reason. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's intimidating to meet someone. You're new to me too. So it's not like I'm going to be okay with this. So I picked Growers Alliance because I happen to love the coffee shop. Yeah. I love the owners. The owners are fabulous. Purity is, she's amazing. Her story is amazing. So I thought that would be a good vibe to have, even though I don't like drinking coffee much. I said, yeah, I like her coffee. So I'll go drink her coffee and talk to this girl. And it was I thought it was a pleasant meeting. It was, and even you said it, that it wasn't as intimidating as you thought it would be.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great meeting. I mean, that's one of my most positive memories of you is just, I remember like I had just discovered, or you could say I just started using the word God, like out my mouth, you know, like talking to people about God. Mm-hmm. And then like, I remember at the time you were like, I'm a minister. And then I was like, there's a chick minister.
Yeah, I became a minister. It's funny because when I came to St. Augustine, from Orlando, I was coming from St. Johns County to St. Johns County for my son, who is deaf. And the first thing the AAN, I'm going to say it wrong. I know I am. The AANR, that's it, the American Association for Nude Recreation. I was speaking to them and they told me, you of all places are going there. They have an anti-nudity law, darling. You're going to have a very hard time being there. So I hired an attorney, and the attorney says, you know what would be great if you become a minister? They will take you a little bit more seriously if you are teaching naked yoga and you're a minister. And I said, so you want me to go through ministry school? And he said, nah, don't do that stuff. Just get, become a minister, say that you're a reverend. He said, because the way that you're teaching this is not that people are not paying to become naked. People are still paying to teach yoga. Is that they just so happen to be naked.
I'm sorry, I just have to scream, and also the whole having a teacher help you get comfortable with your body, repositioning you and helping you. I mean, there's so many different things. It's people don't understand yoga. They think it's just like fitness. But
it's really not. It's a whole different concept. The philosophy of yoga itself, and a lot of people think it's religion, and it's not.
But that's also what it feels like. It feels like a spiritual practice, and the word itself means oneness with God or something like that, right? So it's the asanas.
The whole meaning of yoga is unifying yourself completely, all the bodies. So you're doing the physical body. So here's the physical body. You have your mind, and you're aligning it all with spirit, because spirit is a whole different body inside your body. Yes. So you're aligning all three with the body, and then all three are aligning with the world around you, which is a different body. And then the world around you with yourself is aligning to be one with all. So that is what yoga is about. It's union. Yoga means union. So
I'm amazed how you pointed out all of those different bodies, because I'm familiar with the body and God thing, that is commonly taught. But and also it's kind of obvious, the whole being with the world thing, but you naming it is what I needed in order to really embody and feel that. I'm oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a different layers. So in Christianity, we're worrying about the Trinity, right? We have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, however you want to put it in, right? And the Father starts it all, and it branches to the Son, and the Holy Spirit lives within us once you accept the Son and you have that pure relationship. But the leader and the focus is always on the Father. Well, if you translate what Christianity put in, those three magic names, and you put it to the same, you have the body, the mind, and the spirit. They're all different and they're separate, but then you have to bring them together to start uniting the thought. And then the same thing happens with human beings. So then now we have human beings, we have nature, and we have ether. So human is part of the earth. You can't separate that. I mean, we walk upon the earth, but we can't separate ourselves from the earth.
Ether would count as what, worldly?
Space, space.
Okay.
Yeah, like space. So, and then you have air, fire, water, wind, you separate all that. But if you take away the air, earth, fire, and wind, wind, it doesn't exist because there's air. So fire, earth, metal is what I always try to say. Or what you can't have them. And water, you can't have them without air.
Yeah, you need oxygen.
Yeah. So let's put air back. And so even one of the elements, if you remove one of the elements, you're not a complete. So same thing with a human being. If you remove the human being off of the planet, well, just because you just ripped off a time slot of whatever that energy that human being was going to create, you just removed it. And now you just changed the energy. So it's just one of those things. It breaks it into parts. So yoga just means unions. It's not just union of the physical person that you are, or the mental person that you are, or the emotional being that you are, but it's the unity of all of this, plus the earth, plus the all of that.
You know, this is inspiring a thought that I think you'll be able to follow. So I'll try to articulate. When we go through trauma, like a response is sometimes like can't communicate, like it breaks something with the B borrows. I forgot what it's called. But I guess like that gets broken. And so like we can't really communicate super well. And then like certain parts of the brain don't talk to each other. And then like, I guess like maybe this is mindfulness, also mixing it of like noticing like, because I'm feeling this way or this trauma thing's going off, I'm suddenly thinking this way. And now that I'm thinking this way, it's kind of like expressing in all these different behaviors. And then sometimes I can't get a hold of the behaviors, or there lacks like the impulse control. I mean, I'm still learning a lot about trauma, but like kind of dealing with like impulse control is a big one with me. Like not being able, like goes both ways, like fawning or like holding back and not doing the thing that I even might want to do, but also the other way of just like, okay, I'm not sure if I should do this, but impulse and like doing that and trying to find the balance within that. I'm not really sure how to frame my question or how to like talk.
No, I get it. So first things first, trauma goes into the body and it lives in the body. And then you talked about several topics when you went into the trauma. So you talked about how our bodies react to trauma, how our minds react to trauma, and how then that particular trauma affects our minds in itself. So let's go to the first one. It's just
I want to include to the last one that like, how would the fact that we're not ourselves anymore, like when we aren't being
so you want okay, so I'll go to the mind.
I'm excited.
First.
I'm just excited. I'm just like irritated by like noticing.
No. So well, I was going to talk about the body first, but let's talk about the mind first. That's deeper. So let's talk about the mind first. So the reason why the mind actually affects and it does differently, we have something called and I always pronounce it incorrectly, but it is the amygdala, and that's Amygdala. I do believe that it is Amygdala. Yes, I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
So the amygdala. So the amygdala is an organ in our brain. Its job is to record events so we can learn. Oh,
the amygdala is a recorder of
it's events. It's a recorder of experiences, of situations. So let's say you're a baby and you've never seen fire before. Ooh, fire. And you're just looking at that fire. Ooh, fire. And you see your hands and you hear mommy go, no. You're like, but why? That's new. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I don't know what that is. It's fire. It burns. I don't know what you're talking about. So because the baby's going to keep arguing because it never felt it before. So it's going to go and touch it. And then the moment the fire is taught by the baby, ooh, hot. Now the baby knows, yeah, I'm not touching that again. So it gets recorded into the mind. Ooh, I see that. Hot. Ouch. It's going to hurt. So it records it. I see fire, it hurts. Don't touch it. Something's too cold. Ooh, that's cold. It remembers. So that is what that organ is for. It remembers. So think about something so traumatic. It remembers. And now it's like, instead of it being a slow alert, it is a huge alarm. And it records, oh my gosh, that is so bad. And then it records everything that's happening. So not only does it record your outside sensory, it records what's happening inside your body at the same time. So it's a live recording that doesn't erase. It's always there.
I'm getting like visions about like literally the cellular memory of like how the nervous system, like that exact feeling, all of those things.
It gets all recorded. So think about it. Everything is, so your nervous system is one thing. Then you have a nervous system, you have, which deals with your adrenaline, your cortisol, that fight or flight response and all that stuff. Then you're having your immune system, just a whole different story. Your immune system when that nervous system is active, your immune system stops.
Yeah, I was reading that a lot of trauma victims, they have autoimmune, like immunity diseases
because it stopped.
Like ancestral trauma.
It stopped. So then now your immune system is stopped because you're in that high alert. Okay. Wow. And now your brain chemistry is changing because you're still in that trauma. You haven't fought, you haven't flight. And there's something else. there is not just, we hear about fight or flight, but we forget freeze. That's another response. So now you're frozen, your whole, and so your mind, that amygdala, is recording everything, not just what you saw, not just what you're experiencing, but what you're experiencing internally at the same time. So 5, 6 different senses or systems colliding with each other, and that one little recorder is recording it all. Okay, so then let's say you get over it. Okay, I'm out of it. The systems begin to work again, right? Then something reminds you of that particular trauma. That recorder clicks on. Oh, I remember that. Panic.
Yeah.
Get out. Panic. Do it. You have to react. Now that you remember, react faster. And that is what's going on. The brain has been permanently changed because of that trauma. And trauma lives within the body. It stays within the tissues. So you got to get it out. So unfortunately, we have to play that recorder when we're in a safe space. That's the hard part, because we're living it again. Who the hell wants to live it again? But if you don't live it again in a safe space, you can't process that. The first thing, that you are okay. Okay, because you're okay. You're in a safe space. 2, you got to stop blaming yourself. It's just a recorder. It's like a movie. And 3, you know what your limits are. This is my boundary. When I see that again, I'm crossing that. I'm not crossing that line again. And then you can start to coincide with your body and say, okay, and that's the thing that people forget. So, okay, we all think about our minds. What is this? This hasn't attached. This doesn't remove myself from the body. This controls everything. And now they're saying that the tummy, your stomach, is your second brain.
Yeah.
So think about it. When this brain is going under attack and haywire and it's having an alarm, the first thing it turns off is your tummy. It turns it off.
Does that mean it takes away appetite, or it takes away like that Muladhara, or like
it takes away your appetite?
Maybe it's Manipura, but the yellow.
Oh, that's the Maripura. The Maripura is your inner, your Maripura is your inner flame.
So you're saying that turns
your inner
off,
warrior.
or the food turns off? I'm sorry, I wasn't
food.
Listening.
It's the food, your digestive system.
What about the other way, dude? That like a lot of people who were sexually abused, like eat a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was in
because we're filling ourselves up.
Well, I also I was noticing that they did it for like sex abuse survivors. It's very common to like indulge in food, but food for me though, it's I want to feel good, and I want to feel good now. It's like an escape, or almost like a idolatry of a sort, like worshiping a food, like sugar, and that's escaping.
Well, sugar, I studied something about sugar, and sugar has the same chemical reaction in the brain as cocaine.
Yeah. Rats will literally choose that sugar
feel
over
good.
Cocaine.
Yeah, it's that feel good type of sensation. Because that's sugar. And then the more sugar you eat, it clicks it, click, 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 click. And you just continue to gorge because you want to feel good, and click, 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 click. And then the crash comes.
Also, I learned that social media is built in a certain way to make our dopamine receptors go off. And same thing with sugar.
Click, 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 click. It's the same thing. It starts to do it. So
yeah, but then what happens is it takes a lot more to get to that ideal high, or that high vibe, or that good attitude, because we've gotten such a flood. It's more of a job to climb up the ladder to get there. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing. Okay, so then Ego asked, what are healthy outlets besides food then to deal with those things? When you're in trauma and you're having those responses, it's kind of hard to slow down when you're in that reactionary, monkey mind.
You're in this mind. I don't think of myself as...
do this. Even a little tapping can be hard to slow down,
Well, it depends on you. For me, when I'm crashing, I have to cry. It's like my release. I gotta go. It's don't hold, like, I do like hugs. Sometimes I do like hugs. But when I'm already feeling that mess, the
Yeah.
hug makes me feel confined and you're just
Yep.
trying to shut me up.
Yeah.
And
I can relate.
and I don't want that. So sometimes I just wrap myself in a blanket and I watch cartoons, like the most
Yay.
innocent stuff, something that's
Yay.
completely innocent and sometimes really stupid. So I wouldn't watch Rick and Morty because that's more adult.
Yeah. Name a
Um,
cartoon example.
oh my god, Ruby. I used to love Ruby. Ruby was my thing. I don't know. I think it was on Netflix. Ruby Gloom. That's what the name of the cartoon was.
Is that
Ruby
the
Gloom.
robot girl one?
No, it's a little
Oh.
girl that I think she's a Frankenstein, or she's a ghoul or Frankenstein. And her best friends happen to be a skeleton boy and a ghost. It's all about haunted stuff, but really cute. It's
Yeah.
really, really cute. And Ruby Gloom, although her name is Ruby Gloom, she enjoys spreading joy throughout her community, even if it's maniacal.
Yes.
And her brother's a rocker, and she goes, she supports him even though he can be loud and crazy. And she's like, yeah, and she's really, really cute, adorable. And so I just watch it because it's just like the oxymorons of this should scare me. These are all the themes that are scary, but it's a pure and innocent cartoon. So it brought me down. Or watching a cartoon that I already memorized. Like I don't watch cartoons. If I'm in that excitement state, I do not watch cartoons that I've never seen because I'm already anticipating what's going to happen. And then I'm not going to want to see it because what's going to happen.
Oh my God, you're talking on like three things that I really want to speak on. Like, one, I always think that God's a comedian and that our names have like a hidden code. So like the Ruby Gloom thing is like so perfect for my belief, right? Because like I would make jokes that like, I don't know, I'll use myself as a joke example, right? Like, my name means pure. So like I joke that I'm supposed to purify the way I think and not eat caca and not eat caca, right? And like to be pure in my actions and the way that I present myself, like to clean up, And so like that's why I thought it's a joke because like I can't die, right? I don't go home to God until I finish my mission, which is like, cleaning up and purifying my blood or my life and things like that. And so the Ruby Gloom thing is really funny, right? Because it's like she's spreading joy. She literally is fulfilling her purpose. And the joke around her name, right? Like Mary, the name Mary means bitter. So like a lot of those people, like, their mission is to lighten their heart, right? You ever notice that?
Not to stay bitter, to be the opposite of bitter. Because I mean, can you think about that? The Virgin Mary is really named bitter. She's Virgin Bitter.
Yeah.
And she was chosen to be the mother of Christ, whose real name is Emmanuel, and it's to represent, and also chosen by Jehovah, which was not really spelled with a J, it was spelled with an I originally. So if you think of all of that, yes, I do believe God is a comedian.
Because the second thing was that I also watch cartoons when I get overwhelmed. I do that. There is a third thing, but I'm kind of losing it. It's just like you were just saying one thing after another. They were just piling on. I'm like, how am I going to hold on to all these things and communicate all these things? Yes, I definitely love what you're talking about, and I feel like I could have this conversation forever. Yeah. Especially the way that you're responsive, like the way that you have the ability to respond the way that you do, and the fact that you are so trauma informed and also aware of like yourself in that way. I think that's also very mesmerizing. Well,
it took a while for me. I really, because when I was first diagnosed with PTSD, I told the doctor, I think you're an idiot. I really did. I was like, sorry, I'm not a soldier of war. I wasn't beaten up. No. I wasn't beaten up. I didn't have to fight for my life. And the doctor says, no, but you keep replaying the story in your head. I said, yes. He says, you were You were sexually assaulted by someone you thought was your father figure. He says, so that totally put you it split your mind in half because you didn't even think of him in that matter. You thought of him as a dad, and he abused that. So that's one. Two, then you got betrayed in your own family dynamic because they said it was you that caused it, when in reality, your thought was, he's my dad. This is my dad figure. So that was two. Three, people didn't believe you. They turned it against you, that you're the sexual being. Your body was at fault. Or what was the words that kept ringing in my head that the therapist chose? He says, like, they said to you, it's not, you have a fat ass, so they just had to go after it, so that's why you started eating less, so you can get thinner. And then the thinner you got, more people, you would attract more people because they thought you were gorgeous being the thinner that you are. And here you are trying to attack yourself because you're not eating. And but now you're getting modeling jobs and you're getting even more attention and you're even more prettier because of the fact that you're getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Luna,
not appreciating
I'm
your
triggered
body.
by your story because, like, I did things like that too. Like, I shaved my head and I wore baggy, boyish clothes, and I made myself super gothic. And just like you said, I attracted more people, but like you could say I attracted even more unhealthy people because I was expressing from that unhealthy place, which because
you were expressing yourself to wow out your anger, and other people were attracted to that and saw it. But
it was like self-attack, you know what I mean? Like,
you're attacking. Exactly, you're attacking yourself to say the hell with the society, screw everybody else. If you're gonna identify me as this, then fuck it, I'm gonna run with it. And then other people came to you and you're like, I don't want you, idiot. I'm doing this for myself. And they were just drawn to that energy and just kept feeding off of you. And because they did the same thing, they just kept feeding off of me. And then you would wonder, why the hell am I feeling even worse instead of better? And the therapist told me, well, that's because that's what you're attracting. And I started reading Dr. Wayne Dyer. I started reading a whole bunch of people. And even though I was walling myself out because I internally was pissed. I was over it. I was pissed. My conscious mind was doing something that my subconscious was automatic. It was just automatic because it was running through the motions of me being angry and hurt. And no one recognized that I was hurt and angry. They only recognize that, oh, she looks gorgeous, she's different, or that I'm a little crazy. Right. But they didn't, because I wasn't acting like myself.
Dude, but that's like a trigger too, right? Because like people, like, they can't tell that we've changed so much, you know what I mean? Because they don't really know us like that. But like,
well, they do, but but the problem is, Katrina, is that they're expecting the movie style. Someone gets raped, oh, she has to break down and cry and kill herself. That's the only reaction they expect.
No, dude. I'm gonna call out the other one that I deal with. Oh, 1 in 3 girls have been raped. Get over it. Go talk to another girl. Like, it's like that.
Yeah, like it's okay. Like, when is it okay?
It's normal. It's normal.
Like, when is it okay? Or what were you wearing? Who the fuck cares? I mean, excuse my language, but who cares?
Victim shaming was also a very common thing. I was also told I deserved it for what I was wearing.
And I was like, like one of, I'm not even gonna identify exactly, but I heard a cop say that to me. And I told the cop, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be honest with you. If your daughter came out of your house and you were working and she was running down the block, butt ass naked, I'm going to stop her and ask her, are you okay? That doesn't mean I need to tackle her and fuck her brains out. Okay? I'm going to ask her, are you okay? And if she says, I'm just jogging without my clothes on, because one, I don't want to do my laundry, or I'm doing my laundry, I'm going to tell her, okay, would you like some company so I can keep the creepos away from you? That's it. That's what I would do. Yeah, she deserves to get screwed. No, I mean, No. Just like a little boy that's running around. Let's take a little boy or an adult man running around butt ass naked. As long as he's not pleasing himself, if he's just running around, is a woman going to run after him and rape him? Last time I checked, the answer is going to be no. They're going to laugh and go, oh my God, he is naked. Ha ha ha. They're going to laugh.
Right. They're not even going to ask if he's okay. Right.
They're just going to laugh and think he's insane. But why is it that a woman running down the street butt naked, that's an excuse to be raped, to be sexually assaulted, or she has to be tackled? Why? Why is that if a man is, but look at him, he's running butt naked. But a girl is different. She's asking for it. I don't understand the difference, and it shouldn't be a difference. Same thing, and that's the reason why I think we're having such a big issue with the transgender thing, because men are just so preoccupied. And I'm not talking about all men, but there's certain men are so just preoccupied and so homophobic that they're so worried about, you're going to change my identity. I'm sorry, the homosexual men that I know, they don't want to attack a straight man and convert him. And if they wanted to convert them, they're sick themselves. And even the gay guys would say that. You're sick for trying to force people to love you. That's the same thing as other people trying to do to you. Why would you want that for someone else? It's a matter of consent and force. And I think we forgot that. I think we forgot it, because if it was babies don't do that to each other.
There's energy here of also like forgetting God and not believing and like all that stuff, and how it's like almost like correlated to the stuff you're talking about. Another thing that you were very I feel like I'm almost like, I'm so traumatized, I'm like blacking out. Oh my God, like the story.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It's really, really great. And it's so truthful. Again, I'm blacking out. It was
and that's a response too. Your body, the beautiful thing about our bodies, it's a machine that's fleshy and works with us, and it can grow and decrease and build up, but it also protects us. That amygdala right now is telling you you're being triggered, and I'm going to shut you off, because this is the best way that you can relax. And it does that sometimes. We just have to, just like I have to, when someone is really tight and I have to hold the position approximately 30 seconds to reset the muscle, to say, you're not going to break. We're trying to stretch. This is a stretch. And then redo it again and move it again and move it again gradually. It's the same thing with your mind. You have to go back to that trigger and go, but you have to be in a safe space. If you're not in a safe space when you're about to open that trigger and say, I'm okay. That was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, or however long it was, and move the dial to reset your mind, your brain won't reprogram. It can reprogram. Will it be fixed? You can't reset it back to the presets, but you can reset the alarm. So you can alert yourself with the trigger. Like, I read a book. The alarm. Yeah, that's what I call it. That's what I call it. I've
read about it called that way too. So it's cool to hear you say that. I don't think it was the body keeps the score. It might've been polyvagal theory. But one thing that I kept getting like heavy for was like it seems like a key sign that you're traumatized or that you're in trauma is that like the event is no longer happening, but I'm re-experiencing that event or those thoughts or those feelings like every day, like it's constantly still expressing itself. And then I remembered the other thing about like how I suddenly brought up God, because I suddenly got like this vision or this almost like a supernatural revelation. It was very powerful. But it was like about how like we forget God and we forget like, the only way that I can think of how to talk about this, and I know that you'll be able to relate, but I know that like there's a lot of viewers who might not like know these styles of thinking and stuff like that. But it's like in the world of Hare Krishna, right? How every person is God. Every person is Krishna sleeping, or like they don't know that they're God. Like they forgot that they're God, and they forget that the other people are God. So I felt energy around that. And then the real trigger word for me was force, because that was like that word was this month was just like shown to me what that is. Like, if that makes sense, like knowing the difference between love and force. Yes. And I've had this thought so many different times. And then, you know, it's interesting, like in the fetish community, they have things like forced bisexuality or forced spending or forced drinking and forced things like, right? Force, like the illusion that you're taking away someone's free will, even though they have the ability to say no. However, again, the psychological manipulation of using Edward Bernays, he talked about it in his book Propaganda, talking about like 3 different ways to manipulate people is like fear, sex, and power of suggestion, and how powerful the power of suggestion is. Yes. So again, like if you are suggested to someone about like, you know, different sexuality than they are expressing naturally, or also the other way, like I noticed that like a lot of times if there is shaming around like, right, different sexualities, it creates more curiosity and things like that. So I don't really, maybe the energy here is like where people are trying to be God and they're trying to control and manipulate forces by
I think that's a misconstrued. I think it's not that people forget that they're God. They apply a different definition to what they think God is. Because okay, so let's say a person doesn't believe in God, right? That's fine. We have this spiritual energy. We have an energy that we are connected to the universe, right? Well, Saturn's pull does not tell the Earth, you get your ass to me. You know what I mean? Saturn has its own gravity pull that it controls whatever's in its pull. And Earth has its own gravity pull and it connects to its own pull. And there are stars and other planets that the Earth and Saturn are with and live amongst, and they don't force their will upon them.
But God also doesn't force his will upon us. Like it's suggested to us, but we have free will to say, forget you. And that's also what makes people like think that that's not real, because so many are just in denial of themselves, right? Like listening.
And I'm trying to talk, and I'm trying to talk about 2 different things. I'm like,
yeah, you were talking
I'm talking about God.
Really was amazing.
No, I mean, so that's okay. If you talk about God, it's the same concept as that Earth and Saturn thing. God is just that spiritual being that we identify as God or Krishna.
Oh my God, you just brought it back. I have to say it out loud. The lesson is like that I'm going to try to like say it so I don't black it out again. It's like what's wrong is what we think God is, right? Like we have this image that we think that God is this, but God is not a punishing or evil or right reprimanding. But that's a false image of God, and people are worshiping and believing in that, or they don't believe in that, right?
Like they don't believe in anything at all.
Say again?
Or they don't believe in anything at all. Like, but there is a common force which they cannot deny. A lot of astrophysicists and quantum physics actually says there is a number, there is an energy that is like. It's in everything.
Yeah, like Fibonacci and spiral dynamics, and there was another thing. What's that thing called? Not the Mandela effect. I can't remember. It's morphogenic field. That's what they called it.
Okay. Well, I mean, so let's just think of God as an energy. So it's the same energy. Energy. Yeah, energy. This is emotions here. Energy. Right? Yeah. Cool. So let's just think of that energy pull, right? And we all have this little one strand that's the same energy pull. So when we pass away, we return back to that one energy pull. That's part of the stars. That's part of the earth. That's part of everything else around us. It's just that one little sliver, but you just change just a little bit of that strand and we turn into different things. Okay. That's energy. So you can call it God, you can call it Jehovah, you can call it whatever, I don't care, whatever you want, that's fine. But it's still, it's still an energy. It's still an identity. And what that identity do is just, it exists. It just exists.
Dude, I'm sorry, but your talk is also bringing up, like, what about our self-identity? That's also something that I was thinking in the back of my mind. Like, we adopt this identity of what I am, right? Like, I am yoga person, or I am a vegan, or like, and then like the store, like, I feel like there's like 2 holograms of that going on as well.
Well, that's titles. If you think of it, those are labels and titles. So I am a yoga instructor. That's my job. That's
But it's
not
like
who I
saying,
am.
what is God, right? Like God is infinite, but it's the same thing. Like, what is Luna? Luna is
Yeah.
also infinite.
But I'm just Luna because I want to be. Luna is my spiritual name that I chose because I want to be the moon. I want to be the light that you reflect upon me. I want to shine the light that you're showing me. Wow. So that's the reason why I'm Luna. So whatever light you show me, I'm just your reflection. That's it. So that doesn't mean I'm going to go to you when you're being nasty to me. But if that's how you feel, then that's because that's the light you're reflecting on me. But I am going to tell you what my boundary is because I'm still an individual. But that's what, and I can't remember the name of the book, but Dr. Wayne Dyer spoke about this. And he says, we need to stop thinking of ourselves as identities. We're human first. If we just think of ourselves as, okay, I'm the species, my species is human, and then peel that off. What am I from now? I'm a bodysuit. Peel that off. What are you left? You're left with your spirit. Does your spirit have a name, or are you just a spirit? When you close your eyes, who are you? How do you see yourself when you close your eyes? And he says that is the person that you need to identify with. That's the person you need to speak to. You need to speak to that person who is behind your eyes. Who is that? And then when it came to, and then when I started learning more about trauma and trauma informed, especially being a sexual assault victim, they said that my little girl was hurt. She was hiding. She was hurt.
Like your inner little girl or your daughter?
My inner little girl.
Okay.
Was hurt because what was violated was my sacral chakra. And that's where my inner little girl lives in. And my inner warrior turned on and was fiery, hot, fiery red because wanted justice, couldn't have justice. And instead of receiving justice, was receiving judgment and criticism. And my warrior was hot. My foundation broke, which is the root chakra, because my inner girl was hiding. And my inner warrior was out of sync, which turned off my voice because my voice was hurt and it was being stifled. So there goes the throat chakra. So now my heart's breaking. So all my chakras broke. And so the only thing that was supposed to help me align, I wasn't even feeling. So, but it was there. Nonetheless, it was there. So, and that's what happens. When I started with the trauma informed, the first thing that they told me was I had to close my eyes, I had to give myself a hug. I had to remind myself constantly, I'm in a safe space. No matter what, I'm in a safe space. I had to, they told me, you don't need permission from us, but we're going to give you permission anyway. That if you cry, you're in a safe space. No judgments here. No criticisms here. You're not weak. You're not weak if you cry. Just cry. You have a right to do that. And go talk to your little girl. That was incredibly painful and powerful at the same time. Because my little girl was hurt. She was hurt and she was screaming and she was yelling and she was kicking. And she said, I blame you for not protecting me, but I was hurt. I was hurt and you didn't force them to hear me. And no matter how many times I said, I try having them hear me. And it was that inner struggle of, so why do we still feel hurt? Why do we still feel pain? And the inner warrior is, and if you just put yourself into that deep meditation, and that's the scary part, is that deep meditation of you're talking to all of you, to who you are. And you're talking to all those damaged parts and they all come up. So when I really, really first practiced Nude yoga, and Cato gave me that idea, I'm that type of person. If you give me an idea, I need to play it out in my head. I gotta play it out by myself, because if I don't think it's gonna work, I don't care. If I don't think it's gonna happen, it ain't gonna happen.
I feel like you held back up.
Yeah, I did. So I did. I locked the door. One day, I don't know where he took the kids somewhere. I don't know where he went. And I locked my bedroom door, and I started practicing yoga or martial arts or a combination of both without my clothes on.
Oh my God.
And the tears that came out.
Oh, dude.
The tears that came out because I was mad.
Yeah.
I was still upset. And with my martial arts, I'm like beating up. It was like, I don't know. Have you ever, I can't remember. I know that in ancient times, in like in Chinese ancients, they believe that you can actually fight demons. Like you can see them. You put yourself in that mental state.
Oh, wow.
And as you're fighting, you're literally fighting demons. So I guess I put myself in that platform that I was fighting everything I was feeling, the pain, the hurt, the disgust, the nasty feeling that I still had on my body, that my body wasn't my own. I still felt his touch. I still felt his disgust and his
oh my God, dude,
judgment,
yes.
all of it. So I'm fighting all of that. And then as I'm doing yoga, so here I am on martial arts, doing my beating up. And then as I started to move into yoga and did my martial arts more flowy like a dance, it felt like God was actually holding me. Well, as I'm moving around and saying, go do it. That's right. I hear you. I see you. Beat the fuck out of those people. Go ahead. You have my permission. They're all here. Beat those demons. I am here with you. I know it hurts. This, you know, and I just kept dancing and moving and praying and crying and yelling. And man, if it was recorded, it would probably be like what is this, Exorcist again? Like they would, being the former Catholic that I am, I think the priest would say she needs an exorcism, big time, because it was just so different types of, emotions back in here, emotions. And oh my God, that was like when Cato came back, he says, it looks like you're so much better. I'm like, I feel so much better. For me, it was better than faking therapy, than that talk therapy. It's just like I talk and it makes me feel better at the time.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry, but you gotta admit, Kato is like the greatest husband. Like, oh my God, I didn't know he's why you're doing naked yoga. What?
Yeah, it's all his fault. It's all his fault. No.
God used him, man. God used him.
Yeah, he did.
I feel like, God used you so many times already, Luna. By the way, I have certain words or phrases. Like if you were just hitting home, like the moment I was thinking about my name meaning pure, like you said the word pure, like all these like really beautiful synchronicities. I just wanted you to just really know.
It's funny that I mean, like I said, this journey has been a funny, more in alignment one. I hate to make those people correct. I hate it because I don't like telling people your bad experience, but it was a godsend, because that makes people feel that it's trivial, that God wanted you to be raped. You know what I mean? And it's not, it does not mean that.
Right.
What it means is that God turned it. He is so powerful.
You take what the enemy made for evil and you turn it for good.
That's correct. He did it. Okay. So when I tell people my sexual assault was a blessing to me, they go, what the fuck are you saying? That people, you're saying that all women should feel like rape is great? Like, no. And I mean, I really had, I had a Twitter war. I couldn't believe it. I usually don't do this. I usually just ignore idiots, but this one really triggered me. He really, like my warrior said, oh no, you are not.
Hey, Luna, I just also want to say one more thing. Like, think about how, like, when God corrects us, that's an act of love, right? So when you're correcting people, you're just being loving, being like, listen, everybody, you don't rape people, you don't hurt animals.
That's not cool. So this one guy was telling me, if you truly believe in the Buddhist philosophies, if you really truly believe in the yoga philosophies, you are torturing yourself by remembering your rapes. And I was like, oh, hell no. No, sweetheart. What you're saying is that if I remember an offense that someone did and I replay that offense and put it against them, oh, absolutely, I'm punishing myself. But if the memory of a trauma comes back to me, that's not a punishment to myself. That is the recording playing back. That is trauma. Those are two different things. Don't give me that BS. and act like an idiot. There's one thing about suffering. And I forgot, I read so many books, and then sometimes the information just jumbles in. But there was this one woman that she mentioned it. She actually described it pretty well. And what she said was, she says, there's a difference between that guy who cut me off on the road and that guy who violated me. There's a big difference. The guy who cut me off on the road, I don't need to keep stabbing him in my head every single day, because that was just a quick incident. That is so if I keep getting angry over that, that is a suffering that's on me. The violation was not warranted. That was not invited. That was unwarranted. That was a violation of your soul. If there's a violation of your soul, your body, in your mind, those are not something that you can. An insult, it's not a violation. An insult is a gift that you can return. I don't want it. An insult is a gift you can return. A comment is a gift that you can return. You don't need to keep it. An opinion is a gift you don't need to keep. But a violation of the body, the mind, and the spirit, though, now if you hold on to hatred and bitterness because of those things, those are demons to yourself. But if the memories come back and you're purely, truly working on trying to heal from that recording is there forever. Unless you delete that recording, and that's usually amnesia or whatever. And it happens. It has happened. People have blocked it out to the point that they're like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It never happened. And that's what helps them. But it's still there. It's according to science, and I studied this on there is a website for rape counselors, and I actually took the course. And in the course, it taught me that your brain is permanently changed. Physiology within the chemistry, it's permanently changed. Chemically, physiology wise, it's changed. And many women can do two different things. You can either be more promiscuous because you're just so angry and you're like, I'm going to be more promiscuous, but this time it's because I want to. Not because
I went through that when I was young.
It's because I want to.
I did that one.
You can have the aversion. You can have the other one. Like, I don't want sex, period. So you can have both, or there's different things, but it's because the brain has changed and your personality, everything changes. And that's something that most lawyers, law enforcement people, regular people don't know, which is scary. It's very scary that most people don't know things. But so here comes this Twitter guy telling me, if you truly were a believer of faith, your trauma would not be causing you any pain. You wouldn't to people about sexual assault. You would forget about that story and just say to those women who were raped to be healed and be gone. It's like, get the hell out of here. Have you ever been raped before? Have you ever been violated? Have you ever had those memories? No. So then shut the fuck up and move on. Bye, is what I told him. And he was like, well, that means you're not a true believer of Buddha. No, sir. There are two different, no, sir. Buddha did not rape people and say, I want you to forget about it. Okay? Buddha did not say, yeah, do whatever you fucking want. Yeah, suffering, death, you can bypass death. There's no fear of death. I mean, no, that's not what he said. If it's something that if death is coming to no control of your own, like due to illness, due to fatigue or whatever, you get the fears out and you welcome it. You move on. But as a violation, you just can't attach the violation to the identity of the person's soul. The actions the person did absolutely were monstrous, but you can't do it to the soul. You can't attack the soul. And a book that really and I actually know the name of this book now. The book that really got me to understand forgiveness was The Art of Forgiving by Desmond Tutu. The way that he described it, I was like, damn it, I would have wished more churches said it this way. I think I would have gotten it better. Because what he said was that if it's true that we believe that everyone has God within them, right? And everyone has free will. The person ignored the God entity within him to do the attack on me. Now, that does not make him a monster, because if I make him into a monster, I'm ignoring the God entity that lives within him. I'm ignoring that. I'm now saying that God no longer lives in him, and that's not true. He is still a being of God. He's still a creature of God. Did he choose to ignore that identity? Yes. Did his actions show that his actions were monstrous? Yes. He himself is not a monster. So I am supposed to forgive the God entity that lives within him. I am supposed to forgive the actions and pray that God helps him to reawaken the God entity that lives within him. So that's how we're supposed to see murderers. And is that hard to do? Yes, I'm not going to say that I wouldn't, there are not some people I would just go, yeah, just fry him and let it go. Release the God entity from that body. He forfeited it. But that book really helped me to understand forgiveness, because I even forgave murderers. That book talked about the genocide in South Africa. It talked about how they forgave people that actively participated in genocide there, and how they worked to, change the community, change the dynamic to love more. I mean, it's a phenomenal, crazy book. I actually had to buy it. I borrowed it from the library, and I said, the hell with this, I got to buy it, because it's a book that changed my life. And I talk about it every single time. And I even have my kids reading it, because sometimes I can see the bitterness. I can see the anger festering up. And I said, no, you need to read this, because the anger and the festering to that person who offended you, you think that person cares? That person, that person's sleeping nice and lovely at bed. They don't care. They don't care that you are feeling horrendous, and it's just bogging you down. I read the book. I have a book over there with yoga for the 12 steps. So it's similar to AA, what we go through in AA. And there was a quote, not in the book, but there was a quote from the 12 steps. I actually went to AA, not because I hate alcohol, but I went with a friend. And in that meeting, they said that bitterness is a pill that you swallow, expecting the other person to die.
That's also a Buddha quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to write that down. Yeah. So I wrote it down. And I was like, yeah, there were days that I felt like something was festering in here. And it just grew and shut off my voice and distorted my mind and got my stomach all turned and twisted and angry. And then when I continued to practice the meditation, the martial arts, and the yoga, and just going with the flow, it's like I jumped into that energy wave. It just made me feel so much like I opened up a wound and I just put the Band-Aid inside the wound. And I didn't just Band-Aid it. I did what my grandparents would do for me when I got a boo-boo. Okay, let's go get the alcohol. Let's put the alcohol on, and the mercurium and all that stuff. And if you guys don't know what mercurium is, then you're not Hispanic. It's too hard for me to explain. It hurts like hell, but it works. So they would put the mercurium in there, and they would give it a blessing, which is super weird. It's a blessing of the frog's butt, but it's really,
you said the
really
frog's
cute.
blood?
Butt.
Frog's
butt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So all along you had this frog medicine, you didn't tell me?
It was more words. So
I'm
it's
just
like,
being funny.
no, I get it. So we would say sana, sana, sana culita de grana. Si no sana hoy, que sana mañana, which meant was heal the butt of a frog. If it doesn't heal today, may it heal tomorrow. So, so we would do little songs like that when I was young. And and that's how I felt when I was doing all those meditations and stuff like that. It was like I found a festering wound inside of me, and I did it. I just sat there and I started cleaning, and I would just go, and make it, and just say that little song for myself. So whenever I do get triggered, and I warn my kids, I warn my husband Cato, and I tell him, I've been triggered right now, and he says, "Is there anything I can do?" And it depends. I'm like, okay, well, there are times I can give. I say I want a hug. There are times I'll say, get the hell out of my face. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I know it's not you. You didn't do it. Just give me a minute. Or I just
give me a minute.
give me a minute. I want some ice cream. Can you give me ice cream? I want some chocolate. Can I have chocolate? Can I just give me all the chocolate? Make sure it doesn't have milk in it because I don't want to die. Just give me chocolate. Or whatever it is, whatever I want. Like, and they usually just give me my time. They do give me my time. And the more you work on trauma, you figure out what makes you feel better at that moment. And you just do it. The only thing I tell people is your trauma doesn't give you an excuse to go attack other people.
Hurt people.
Yeah. If you're hurt, stay home.
I do know that you have to run off soon. So I just wanted to cover a couple other things.
That's fine.
One thing that's really important, I feel like, is like how our bodies subconsciously recreate the trauma and put us in those experiences again to reactivate those parts of the brain. So that way we can have a chance to fight back or do the thing. I really loved how you talked about in the beginning, like you could say you accidentally spoke on that and I didn't even ask about it. And like, I'm really glad that you answered that. But you were basically talking about how like it's pent up in the body, like to fight back and to do the response that was supposed to happen. And then, so I've noticed that like I will recreate similar experiences to that, or choose similar people or energetic imprints around that. And then again, trying to regain that power, that manipura, right? Like having jurisdiction or say, and I read this book, like, I'll be honest, I didn't completely read it. I just read some of it.
It happens.
It's called Getting the Love You Want. And in the book, it talks about how we need to have an identical energy imprint that is the same of the person who created the harm. But then for us to have this person who has the same energetic imprint do the opposite of what the abuser did. So let's say the abuser slapped you, like maybe this other person, they go like this to you and like
wipe away the slap.
Yeah.
I do get
almost
that.
Like aftercare.
Yeah, I do get it, but I liked the exercises Desmond Tutu put me through in The Art of Forgiving instead. I like that one because it helped me. My apparently intuitiveness and spiritualism runs in my family. My grandmother, my father's side.
Like multiple people are healers or intuitives?
Yes. Like my great aunts, it runs in my family, and my grandmother's the same way. And it just whatever he said aligned with that thought. That as an intuitive, you're talking to the energy space. You're not talking to the human. You're talking to the energy spirit that they are, not the physical. You're talking to the metaphysical, right? So with Desmond Tutu, what he said is that in order for him to forgive the murderer, he couldn't see the murderer. He had to see the God within the murderer and tell the God within the murderer, why did you allow this to happen? Like, question him. And he says, you just talk to that metaphysical, and the metaphysical will say, well, remember free will. So he chose to ignore me. So now it's up to you to forgive the action, detest the action, detest it, hate the murder, but not the person.
Yeah, like hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yes. Hate the sin, not the sin. Punish the sinner because it was his actions. He chose to ignore the God within him.
I mean, I like that you're saying that, but I had a new thought that was kind of similar, but it's like, instead of seeing God in the person, like seeing like, well, God really must have loved Luna because he brought a Luna, and Luna's still alive even after all her sins, right? Like, or each person like that like they're still loved, or there's still like purpose or meaning here, or a chance to grow as a person, right? Like maybe get better.
Yeah, they can, exactly. They can have a chance to grow, but it's their choice still. I have to accept the fact that they may choose to completely ignore the light that lives within them. You know, and if I keep saying the word namaste, that's what namaste is. The light that lives within me honors the light that lives within you. So the God that lives within me honors the God that lives within you, is what that art of forgiving was talking about. And I'm supposed to hate the sin. You committed murder. Ew, gross.
And this person
disgusting.
loves Jesus, the person who wrote the book.
Oh yes, Desmond Tutu happens to be a cardinal. He was a cardinal for the Catholic Church.
I have no idea what that is.
Well, actually, he's an archbishop, not an cardinal, but it's certain titles within the Catholic ranking. So here comes the Pope. Below him's archbishops.
Okay.
Below him is a cardinal. Below him is a bishop. Below him are priests.
Okay.
Okay. So he was the Archbishop of South Africa. So he wrote a lot about God. He did. He wrote a lot about God. But he became an Archbishop of South Africa after he was married, which is really weird because in the Catholic Church, you don't do that. But I don't know how he did it, but he did it. So,
God willing, girl. God willing.
But he was also best friends with the Dalai Lama.
Oh, wow.
And they both played not against each other, but they both had these communications about religion and spirituality and joy and love without the criticisms and critiques and the limitations of religion. They were able to bypass that. And they have a book, both of them wrote a book called The Book of Joy. Phenomenal book.
Both of them together?
Yes, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. It's called The Book of Joy. Sweet guys, sweet old men, until Desmond Tutu did pass away recently. I think last year. I try not to keep with the dates. I just know the impact that they did. And that book was a huge impact on my life. The art of forgiving.
The art of forgiving. I have two things written down to go into, and then I'm done.
Yay!
I was going to include one more thing. It's funny that you're talking about the books, because in the middle of your talk, I almost wanted to interrupt you and be like, well, what books did you read that helped you heal? And like, here you are giving that answer.
Love
and
those
I never
books.
even asked the question.
Yay, intuitiveness. It just works.
I just had to make sure you knew that truth. So the two things I've written down is death and dream. I'll go into the dream first because I want to leave more room for the death talk.
Okay, dream.
So I keep having this dream, Luna, that I wanted to talk to you about and see what you'd say. I keep dreaming that I'm doing my real life job in my sleep. Like in my sleep, I'm mowing lawns. I'm leaf blowing. And like, I just want to know what you think. Like, do I love my job so much that I'm just dreaming about like doing this job all the time? Or like, is it a stress thing? Or like even intuitively, like, is there anything?
Well, here's the question for you. When you're doing it in your dreams, is it peaceful?
Yeah. It's
or is it just emotion?
Oh, yeah.
No. Like, it's just like, I'm just doing it. I see myself doing it. So who cares?
Both dreams that I can remember, like I'm pretty sure I'm like engaged, and it's almost like I'm lucid dreaming, I guess. Like I'm in the dream, I'm like doing the job while I sleep. Like maybe I just really like it. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's just a replay of your day, and your brain is just replaying your day. Like
that could be. because both of those times, like the day I dreamed about leaf blowing, I had leaf blown, and then the going to sleep, my head's mowed.
Yeah, so it's just saying, this is what we did during the day, so we're just doing that in the day.
And then I was hoping, like the last conversation we had together was obviously off camera and stuff like that. So, but it was talking about like things like pertaining to the deaf community. I don't expect you to really go into that full story or things like that, but I was kind of hoping that you talk a little bit about how like deafness is a part of like your everyday life, and just like how that kind of expresses itself. You know, I mean, I see it working through you all the time. Like one of my favorite things about hanging out with you, like, and like, I guess you could say is like, I love those parts about you because they're parts of me that don't always come out or whatever. So when I see them in you, I'm like, oh my God, that part of me that I love, right? Like the sign language, like my mom taught me sign language when I was little, like the ABCs. And then I grew up to take a class, you know, so I was just kind of hoping you talk a little bit about your life, having a deaf child, and just about what that's like, and then also like what you're doing. I was hoping you talk a little bit about that, what you do for deaf people. That's I know it's a lot. That's why I saved it for last. The best for last. And again, if you want to continue this conversation another time, I completely understand.
No, I think we can do I think the trauma was just a deep one. I think that's the one that we're gonna be asked to continue on, because that is so intense.
I have a vision. We could do exercises together or yoga together on camera around the trauma. Maybe make a whole trauma series.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I would love. I love doing yoga for stuff like that. Okay, so yes, I do, and I'm still learning. Sign.
Wait, before you go, I want to say my comment because you're already doing it. But the comment that I held back, that I said that you do things that I love, is like you'll be talking regularly and then you'll just add in a sign here and there. And I do that too. I do that all the time. People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm being silly. Like, so keep going.
Okay, sorry. So energy is actually this. And it's okay. So energy is actually this, not this. This is emotions, but I always get those two confused.
Okay.
Okay, so energy. But anyway.
Emotions though.
Emotions, yes, close to the heart.
Emergency.
Yeah. So don't forget to look.
Yes.
So yes, you know, I have a deaf son. He was born deaf. That was a journey of itself.
Is that how you learned sign, or did you happen to know sign a little bit, or?
No, I had to learn it when I'm not going to say his name on camera, but when he was born deaf, and I have to admit, I was a very I wanted him to learn sign, but the social workers were like, well, he wants to talk because all his siblings are talking. I'm like, but yes, he still needs sign. So they just kind of like walked off, and we just got stuck with two of his favorite signs, which was eat and more. And then he liked playing ball, so he would tell me about the ball.
Aww.
So he would grow up, and he went to elementary.
Eat more. That's so funny.
So he went to elementary school, and in elementary school he would talk more because of the hearing aids. We got the hearing aids. But I would see and I would experience his experiences were very difficult. Like some adults would think that his hearing aids were actually just headphones, and they would try to take them away from him.
Oh my God.
And I had to be in a lot of fights back then. I said, dude, those are his ears. So we used to tell my son, honey, don't let anyone take them. Those are your ears. That's how you hear. Yeah. And so that's what he said. So when he was in elementary school, he said, no, those are my ears. That's how I hear you. So that's how he would learn how to say that. And then he would get picked on a lot, like bullied horribly.
Picked on? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was picked on a lot when he was a kid. And it hurt me as a mom, because I want to protect my cubs. I want to protect my babies and tell people to go fuck off. You don't like them, go fuck off. You can hurt me, bring it on. Hurt me, yes, bring it on. But him, No. Or my other kids? No. But when we moved here in St. Augustine and went to FSDB, that's where I learned signed. He was learning it too because he didn't know it at all. So
that's really amazing. You learned at the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. That's where you learned sign.
Yeah.
Dude, when I was in it was like middle school, I took a sign language class and I was like, man, I want to go to the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. And then I ended up living in St. Augustine. Like,
yeah, and the funny thing about it is that the school teaches it to the community. You just have to ask. They have classes. They do have classes, and you pay for the book, and they have teachers there that teach you the signs. That's what they did for me. For me, I was a parent, so my classes were free, and I had it on the computer, and I went through level 1 through 4, and that's where it ends. That's level 1 through 4, because we have some, basic signs, and then we go through sentence structure. And then after level 4, you're on your own. So if you want to learn more, you go and you search it out, which is, which I did. But I have to practice.
For me, I was trying to talk to everybody that I knew that I was signing. I would interrupt deaf people just so I could sign. I was just obsessed with nonverbal communication.
Yeah. Yeah, they would think it's depending on the person, they'll think it's rude. But
it's so rude. It was so rude. I was just a kid. I didn't know anything like that.
No, exactly. You don't know.
Yeah, I
know. But YouTube does a great job. There is this one professor. He's deaf, by the way, and I think he's adorable. And it's Lifeprint, LIFEPRIN.com. So if you go to lifeprint.com, he has lessons that you can learn sentence and ASL words, ASL signs. And I try to learn from the deaf. That's a big thing. In the deaf culture, you do not want to encourage an ASL interpreter or a person that's hearing to teach you ASL, because the deaf feel that that's their job, that's their language, they are the experts.
Wow.
Not the hearing. Now, of course, there are codas out there, and there are ASL interpreters out there that do teach ASL, and sometimes it helps for the hearing person to at least start with that. But the more you want to embrace or appreciate the deaf culture, you want to go to a deaf person to teach you how to sign. Because that's theirs. That's they live it, they breathe it, they do it every single day. So out of respect for them, that's what they want.
Well, how would someone find in their area an actually deaf ASL teacher?
Google it.
What would you Google? What am I typing in?
Yeah, deaf ASL instructors.
Okay.
So you learn that. Gallaudet, the university that's for the deaf and hard of hearing in Washington, D.C. They have some classes online, and they're from the students. So you can learn ASL from Gallaudet. You can learn, I think if you're in the state of Florida, FSDB will offer classes to you. If you, Gallaudet doesn't care where you are. It depends on where you go. There's a lot of universities that have.
Well, will the university have a deaf teacher?
Gallaudet, yes, because they are for deaf and hard of hearing students.
Yeah.
So Gallaudet would do it. I know UNF has an ASL interpreting course.
Did you see one of the apps are doing that now too? I can't remember which app.
I've
seen an email about it. I don't know if I forwarded it to you.
Not yet. You haven't forwarded it to me. I have tried some apps. They're not as great.
There's an app, like it's like Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok.
Just for the deaf.
Huh?
Just for the deaf?
No, it's like, it's a new thing of like learning the ABCs.
Oh, see, but that's the basics. They, they want you. See, the deaf community doesn't just want you to learn ASL. They want you to learn the deaf culture as well. They want you to understand that ASL is not signed in English.
Yeah,
it's totally different.
Yeah, I know it. That was the hardest part about learning the language, is trying to learn how to do time, object, subject, verb.
Like, exactly. So like now I am signing to you, but I'm talking English with signs. That's not ASL. I have to turn my voice off.
Is this sign language? And this is how.
Yeah, this is sign language. So they, and sign language evolves. Yeah. So that's why it's best to learn from a deaf person, because it evolves. If I do sign language like this, they tell me, "Oh, I know where you learned. You learned from a book." Oh, teaching. Oh, teaching. Oh, teaching. Real quick, sign. They can do. They have different ways. So sign, like, so you go sign language.
I kind of like this one, but I was taught this to mean like how many. Like,
how many. So it depends. How many, or sign, or milk, or same thing. It's just it depends on the direction of your hand and your facial expressions.
Wow.
So that's why they want you to learn from a deaf person. So the course that I created was kind of a touchy subject, because that's what they thought. They thought I was teaching sign, and I'm not. I'm teaching inclusivity to the hearing person, to invite the deaf person into your class, or hard of hearing. So far, I've gotten some ignorant questions, but you know what? Questions are questions, and I welcome them all. So one hearing instructor came to me and asked me, well, what is this going to work for my class? I don't teach to the deaf. And I said, do you teach to an old person? And they go, yeah. Well, how do you know they're not deaf? How do you know that they're not hard of hearing? Do they carry a sign everywhere they go? I mean, my son doesn't say, yeah, I'm hard of hearing. Here I am. They don't say that. So you assume, you want to, why not prepare just in case someone walks in and you attract that energy that they walk in, and then you go, crap, I just told that girl she was an idiot for trying to teach me how to be inclusive, and now here's the deaf person walk into me. Why not? You don't know, like most mental health issues, most trauma-informed classes are not taught to the deaf. And because they don't know how to communicate with them.
Wow.
And that's a shame. Like, my son went to a Brave Summit for the mental health. The summit knew he's deaf. They knew. So they had 2 interpreters on the stage. But there were like 20 or 30 tables with different information.
Oh, no.
No interpreters. So he was supposed to walk to every table, find out new information with no interpreter. So I went with him. And the program at first said, well, you're a parent. Yeah, but now I'm his interpreter. So I'm not going to stay home waiting for him to call me. Because as soon as I drop him off, he's going to call me. to tell me, come get me, because nothing's working here.
Yeah.
So as he went to the table, I was there. He was able to hear with his hearing aids because the people around him weren't as loud. But I was there to give him access to that communication. And they forget. A lot of people forget that. It's okay. So people get intimidated. The communication is not, so you learning sign is not for you. It's actually is for you. It's for you, not for them. Because they communicate fine with or without you.
Yeah.
It's you need the sign language to communicate with them. So the interpreter is not really for them. The interpreter is for you to understand, to communicate with them, is to get that nice, clear access. And it's a shame that just because someone's deaf, we just turn them away because it's difficult to communicate. Same thing if someone speaks Spanish, we just discard them, or they speak Korean, discard. You don't speak my language, so go away. And that's so hurtful. Everyone has trauma. Everyone needs and wants and desires attention and love and affection. You wouldn't want to go to a different country and say, well, you don't know my language, so get the hell away from me. And a lot of people, especially in patriotism, they say, well, if you're in America, damn it, you should learn English because that's our language. But if you were to study, America doesn't have an official language. We don't have one. So why should we enforce that? If you were to go to France, why do Americans insist that they speak English?
Right, like they
You're
don't
in
do that
France.
when I go to Colombia, right? Like they don't do that when we're going to like other countries.
Like, why
like,
do that?
People, like when you go to Egypt, like people are so nice, people are
So,
like really, really brainwashed.
So that's the thing. So why do it to other people, especially for the deaf? They can't hear you.
Well,
I mean, what would you do to a person?
They inherited that. Like maybe their dad talks like that.
Like, what do you do? What do you do to someone that's blind? When someone's blind, do you tell them, watch where you're going? No.
You said, I'm sorry. You said, watch where you're going.
Yeah. Like, do you tell a blind person, watch where you're going?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So why should you expect a deaf person to hear you or to understand you? And that's why I created the course, because it hurts him. To see his discouragement every single time when someone treats him, or they start talking and he doesn't understand, or he doesn't get what they're saying, and he tells them, again, repeat it, and they're like, you're wasting of my time. It's like he's not worthy. He's unworthy. Who the hell wants to be treated that way?
Yeah.
Okay. He was told he couldn't work at a place because he's deaf. He's not incapable of learning. He's not incapable of doing the job. They don't want him at the job because they don't know how to communicate with him. Because, and it's not just him. They do this to a lot of deaf people. They just give up. So most deaf people actually either try to go on disability or they own their own businesses. And that's why sometimes, not all, the deaf community stays together, because the hearing has failed them or caused so much trauma to them. They don't want any part of us at all. They are so hurt that at the moment you say hearing and you are teaching sign, it's like they feel like you robbed them. Aww. You already robbed them of communicating. You already robbed them of their identity.
Like such a cool job when I was younger.
Yeah, I know, but do you see what I mean? It seems like you robbed them from. No, I know you robbed them from everything. So now you're gonna rob them from having the opportunity to teach other people your language. Their own language. I mean, that's what hurts them.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. And sometimes those who have been traumatized by the hearing, hurt, like you said, hurt people, hurt the deaf allies, hurt the people that are fighting for them as well.
Yeah, it's redirected, right? Like all of that they held back, they redirected someone who's actually deeply listening
and trying to help as well. So
if we cannot take it personal and then apologize maybe for the actions of those people and say, hey, I'm not them and I'm here to help, or
but again, you have to accept what they're feeling. I mean, you can say whatever you want. You can go and talk. But if they don't accept it, you gave, they reject it, so you have to walk away. And you're right about not taking it personal. You're right. That's one of the rules from Don Miguel Ruiz that I read. The 4 Agreements. That's a book I actually remember.
Yes, I still have your book.
Yes, the 4 Agreements.
I have to read it.
It's okay. I can buy another copy. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, why is it not in my library? And I was like, I don't know. Well, I can always get another one.
I can also mail it back to you. I can read it.
I can get another one. I like it. I've read it so many times, and it's such a good, juicy book.
Really?
It's one of those books that you have to keep in your library. Just like The Art of Forgiving, you just have to put it in your library. Dr. Wayne Dyer wrote so many books, and they're on YouTube, so you can hear them. And I love closed captioning on YouTube, so you can read it literally with the closed captioning. So I like those. But those are the authors I really chose. Gabrielle Bernstein has helped some too, and she makes it real about the perfectionist and the drugs and the sex, and she really makes it real. So if you want someone like,
is that the book that you tried to loan me and I also shut down on?
Yes.
How did I know? Well, you started talking about what's in it. Like now it makes sense why my body wouldn't even look at it.
You're like, nope. Yeah. It's okay. I read a book the other day. It was a fascinating book, and it was about the Ojibwe tribe in the United States and Canada. And it was talking about the plague of meth within it, and the FBI investigations, and a girl who was half French and half Native American trying to save her Native American community. And then at the end of towards the end of the book came a rape scene, and I said, that's it. I'm not finishing the book. I'm just gonna go. No. I'm gonna go and see, how did the book end? Perfect, and that's it. I got my ending. I know how it ends. I've been triggered. I'm done with this book. And it was because it was a kidnapping. There's drugs, about the abuse, and she was about to get further abused. And I was like, no. Just tell me real quickly, does she survive? Yes. Think she gets rescued? Yes. I was like, perfect. Thank you. Whoever wrote the Cliff Notes knew someone was going to get triggered. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the triggering listening and reading trauma, like, is a real thing. Like, that was one of the hardest parts about reading The Body Keeps Score, was like reactivating all of those those recordings, as you called it, Luna, and
sometimes you just have to go, see here, white flag, okay, done. I'm gonna put the book down. I'm not ready for this, and walk away. And then you get distracted, and then you go, oh crap, I guess I didn't.
I'm so thankful for your time. I love you so much. I wanted to make you get some rest.
Yes, because I have to interpret for my son tomorrow.
It's a big day, and I've had so much fun with you, and I have so much on my plate, and we have to do this again. And I'm knowing I'll see you again.
Yeah, I know trauma and books are going to take us a long way. But the deaf community, I love talking about that, but I'm not an expert. So whatever signs you learned from me today, I'm going to put this out there. Follow it. We go to a deaf signer, Life Print. Go to Signing Savvy. Do not quote me. I am still learning. Do not get me in trouble with the deaf community, because God, I will get in trouble. I did not teach you anything. I am still learning. I'm just trying to help communicate. That's it.
And before we part ways, is there a website you'd like to mention, or anything you'd like to mention, how people can find you?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to spell it out for you. So you can find me at NuReveal Yoga. nureveal.com. So that's Nureveal, yoga.com. And you can find my book there in the store because I wrote a book. It's called Mindful Living. It helps use all the yoga philosophies. For me, I think I'm speaking English, but maybe not. Maybe I'm speaking in a whole new world for you. And I bring in the analogy, and I kind of align them to car parts, and I throw in some Bible verses. It's only because I'm a Christian background, so don't get offended. But I also surprise some people with some oh my goodness, the Quran. Yeah, from some of the words from the Quran as well are in there.
We're in Ramadan right now.
I know. And then, so you find my book, you can find some of my courses there. You should find a deaf and hard of hearing course certification there soon. I'm still going to record it. I want to record my beautiful voice and detail it without just giving you my beautiful presentation. I don't think that's right. And you can find my Etsy store because I do create shirts and towels that promote the nudist or naturist lifestyle.
Yeah.
And also promote. I also have a t-shirt there specifically for sexual assault survivors. If you purchase this shirt, all profits of this shirt will go to RAIN, which is the organization for sexual assault victims. So I don't want any of the profits. You pay for the shirt, you buy the shirt. Once I get the profit, once all the sales and all the garbage goes through, I will submit a donation to RAIN. So I created that t-shirt specifically for that. So I hope you find me. I hope to see you in class, at least online, because that's where I'm at. I'm online. COVID kind of shut down my beautiful studio, but we won't go there. That's for another time.
That's definitely a talk for another day.
That's another day. That's another day.
But I love you. And it's
I
nice
love you
to
too.
see
I love you too. Nice to see you.
Yes. You get some rest. I will be in contact, and I will definitely be seeing you again soon for some yoga.
All right.